Okay, so I thought I would show you quickly how I do that very last, where is it? This one. This was the very last one that I talked about. So it's a blanket stitch, and I'll put it this way, it's the same type of blanket stitch that you would put on, say, applique. See, the leg is shooting out to the left of the straight line. So I'll just try to make it quick, and I'll show you how I do this one. And so this is just another scrap, and this is the front. And I don't know if I'm zoomed in. So here's the front, and then this is 2.5 inches cut and folded and pressed. And I already did the the mock-up where you make sure you have enough, you make sure that your seams aren't landing on a corner, you go all the way around, you put clips there just to hold it. And so I already did that. Now since this is so small, I could use one whole 40-inch piece. I don't have any seams. But so you'd go all the way around, and you make sure that you have enough overlap. Now that's just enough, to help you when you're putting in that diagonal seam. That's like, what is it, from 4 to 10, so that's like 6 inches. So I'm cutting it tight here because this is so small. Normally I'd like to leave at least 10 inches of overlap. And what I'll do is I'll say, okay, if that's kind of going to be my overlap, I'm going to make sure that, like, this is my center of the two, this here. And when I get to that point, I'll put a pin there. But I'll stop stitching here. So I'll either put another clip that's like a different color to stop it, or a pin or something to that effect. Showing me that's where I'm going to stop. So I'm stopping at the other overlap here with this clip, and I'm going to start there. I just realized I'm going to leave this color thread in so that you could see it for when I flip it, and I don't feel like going back and forth with the thread. So I'll just start down here, and I have my 1/4 inch foot on. This is the Janome foot. It's got the guide, and I'll just do needle down. I'm hoping you can see and my hands aren't in the way. And I go 1 stitch forward and then 2 back, and then forward. And I know a lot of people will go off at an angle, but if you do that wrong by just like 1 stitch, or if your degree is off, and you just can never get your corner to look good. So there's a little line on my foot, and I'll see if I can zoom in on that. So this line will show you when you're a 1/4 inch away from the edge. So when this line lines up with the edge, that's when you know to stop. Well, I stop before it gets to this line, so I stop up a little bit from the line. This line up here is where the needle is, of course, that line. So I used to put a a pin on the edge, like when I would get to this point, so then I know the fabric's not going to stretch anymore or whatever. I would put a pin here, but now I just use my fingernail because I'm not going exactly on the line anyways. I'm stopping before it, maybe an 1/8 inch before it, but I'll put a pin on for the video. So and I'm putting it like right after the edge, so even more so you want to stop before that. And so I'll go ahead and I'll watch for that pin. I'll go maybe one more stitch. So that pin is like before the line, but really the line is probably like, well, I'm still safe. So then what I do though, instead of going off at an angle, I go back 1, 2, 3, and then forward 2, 1, 2, and then that's it. And then cut my thread, bring my thread around to be ready for the next one. And I usually just stick the pin up at the top. I know you can't see that. I have like something I can stick it in. So then this, of course, see, I have lots of leeway down here. So I'll try to get in the camera. So I took this, and when you come over at your 45, I have lots of leeway to play with. So you'll want to take it so that this is on the point. Okay. And then this has to be at a, it has to be, how shall I say this? This has to be parallel with this, and so that this line is an exact 45. And you'll be able to tell because if you put your finger up here, and again, I'm going to have to zoom out a little because honestly, I can't get it all in. If you put your finger up at the top and then go over, and see how you can just use that to your advantage with your thumb up there, and then down. If you see, I don't let anything overhang. I don't know why people say you should let it overhang. I don't. And then if you see that this flap is sticking up or it's down too far, then you know you're off up here on your angle. So mine is down a little bit, but it's not bad. But if I wanted to get it, if I wanted to get this piece to be up farther, then that means my angle probably, this point was good down here, so I'll keep it down there with either a stiletto or whatever, but then maybe my angle was wrong. Maybe I needed to bring it, up a little more, or maybe the entire thing then needed to be shifted up, to get this to come up. Because obviously if I held this and went like that, then it's crooked. It just depends on how far you were off. I wasn't really off, so I'm going to go ahead and put my thumb there again and go over. I have all kind of tools that I don't even use those anymore. I just use my thumb. And then I just take and swing it around, but if you have a giant quilt, you might want to clip it. And I clip them upside down because then they go under easier. And I clip it there so it's not in my way. And, oops. And then I have one of these things. I have several of these made, different thicknesses. I put that behind the foot. Let me put it that way so it's not by the clip. I have, see how I have it kind of like at an angle. I use that for, I don't know, so many things over the years. I can't even remember, but when I need it, it's there. So then I go ahead and I have my thread out to the side, and now I use the lines again. This mark that's by the needle, I use that mark that's by the needle. Let me zoom in. And I know you probably can't see it, but then there's also a mark way back here. That's a 1/4 inch from the needle, back here. Well, I put the edge of the fabric between those two marks. So, and I make sure this is up against it, and then I put my foot down. And I'll do a needle down. And then I hold the thread, even though I don't think you have to with the Janome, with these kind of machines. Make sure this is lined up. And I go 1 stitch forward, and then I can let go and go 2 or 3 just to the edge, however I can get to the edge. You could tell if you're at the edge because of that line. That's where it shows you where the needle is. I'm going to go 1 more stitch. Now since I stopped, it's going to take a stitch in place and then go back 1. That's why I try not to stop. Oh, it didn't. Okay, I went too far. So I'm good. This is still on. And I have a knee lift. I don't know why I never use it. Okay. And I'll just go forward then. And put this off to the side because I always lose it. And then I'll just do the same thing all the way around. So now here I'm just going to use my fingernail and get it right before that notch. And then I'll go back. 1, 2, 3, whoops. And then 1, 2, lift. And then do the same thing again. And actually I can stop there because I'm beyond the corner just to give me more leeway. So I'll back up. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. And then I used to leave these long corners. I used to leave these threads long in all the corners, like even longer than that, like 10 inches long, and I used to use that to then stitch my corners, hand stitch them, but I don't do that anymore because I get tired of keeping track of them. And I just bury my knot. I just make a knot. I make a new double thread to do my corners, and then I bury my knot into the corner. So yeah, I'll just cut them all now. Okay, so I'm actually showing the join again because I didn't really like the way I presented it in the original video. So this is the back. So I wrote down back because the back and the front are the same on this swatch. But this is the back, and I sewed it to the back. I sewed the binding to the back. And these are my leftovers, okay, my overlaps, so to speak. And you can see that I started stitching, way down here. I barely, I usually like to start, this is 1.25 inches. I like to start at least a little farther up from where the binding would, be in this manner. But this is okay. And so that's where I started, and then I ended, you can see here, right after where the binding, ends there. And that gives me about 10 inches between my start and my end when I measure it on my table here. Yeah, it's showing it like 10.5 on this ruler on my table. So that means like the center between these two is, let me see if I could get the lighting better. The center between these two is like about 5 inches. So if I take my fingers again and I look to see where 5 inches is, it would be about here. And you say to yourself, okay, that's my center between my start and my end. And if you're going to do it in the method where we just cut this bottom one off and then measure this one 2.5 inches from where we cut the bottom, I don't really feel as though this is enough distance for me to work with on this bottom piece, because this is going to be the bottom piece. This was, the top. But when I go to join them, this becomes the top, And this is the piece that you have to like drag over and, open it up and draw your lines on. You want this piece to be long. So my center at 5 inches, it's just not enough for me to work with. So since I want this to be the longer piece, not this one, I'm going to take my center and maybe cut it like 1.5 inches up farther, just to give me more room. I could go even a little farther, but that's kind of where I'm going to cut it. And so you can go ahead and, fold it there and just finger press it if you want. And cut it, or you can use your ruler and try to be more exact. So I'll just do it this way, and I'll just cut straight across on that line, crease. Okay, and so then that's kind of my bottom piece, and I'm going to just pull it a little bit, not stretching it, but I want to make sure there's no slack in it, and I'm actually going to pin it, with maybe one of my strong pins. I don't have to go all the way through the batting. It's just for measuring this piece now. So then take this piece, and you can see where this one ends, and you can actually, just to be sure, you could take another pin. I'll turn it this way, and you can make it stick out on this side here, and you could put the pin like right at that ending and kind of make sure it's straight. And then I'll just go back this way again. It's not straight, but you kind of get the idea. It's got to be straight. And then you can use that pin as your guide to where you're going to take this one, and again, give it a little bit of a pull, and you can pin it or clip it or whatever. I'll put a clip in. And from this pin, which is where the bottom one ended, you measure 2.5 inches, draw a line, and then cut that. And we're actually, and this is the trick, we're going to go a little less than 2.5 inches because we don't want any slack when we finally stitch in the final step. after they're attached, and then you stitch this line. You don't want any rippling or pleats or anything like that. So we're going to measure from here, not 2.5 inches, but we're going to go 1/8 inch less than 2.5. So 2.5 inches would be 2 4/8. So 1/8 less would be 2 3/8. So that's what we're going to measure from the pin. So then I'll go at, you have to turn these so many different ways. We'll go at 2.5 is there, so I'll go 2 3/8. But again, I want to flip it so that the 2 3/8 right here is on the pin, so that I could draw my line. And then of course that other pin is in my way. Figures. So I'll use my skinny little glass head pin, or you can use your really long flat pins like these with the flat. They maybe won't get in your way as much. So, okay. So the 2 3/8 there, we're going to put on this pin because that's the end of our one we cut. So I've got to kind of bring it down, and I'm making sure, let me zoom in now. I'm making sure that this edge is lined up kind of down here with this raw edge, but even more so like up here as well, on this edge. You just want to make sure it's flush and lined up correctly. There's my 2 3/8, and I'll draw my line, and then I'll go ahead and cut that. And I'll probably cut off most of the ink anyways, so you can kind of see it while you're cutting. I hope I'm still in view because I know I'm zoomed in now. And then you can take the pins, all the pins out. Do that. Okay. And so now I'm going to use my small glass head pins. They're real tiny and they're real thin for this step. So now you go ahead, and I'm going to zoom back out. You go ahead and you can use your presser foot if you have a big bulky quilt, or you could take it somewhere else, but I'm going to use my presser foot to hold it down. Maybe I'll move it over a little bit. Okay, so you'll take the top piece. You see you've got 2.5 inches there, and then that one you just open up and just lay down. It's going to be just flat. But this piece, the bottom piece, you'll open up and you just kind of bring it over. Okay. And that's where a lot of people will clip it over here so that it doesn't fall, give you a lot of problems. And so this one then is going to go like this. And we're going to draw a diagonal to stitch on. You'll be lining everything up, which I'll do that in a minute after I draw the line. But it'll be like this, and the line that you draw goes from this corner to this corner, not this inside corner to this corner. So if you're ever drawing a line from this inside corner, you're doing it wrong. So it's this one. So knowing that it's this one that we're going to draw, I'm just going to take my black lock and I'm going to put it so that this diagonal is lined up with this edge. Okay, and you want to make sure that it's the diagonal, that the part that's going to lock in. Okay, if I lock it into that, got to press down for it to lock. Okay, when I slide it down, this point matches up with the corner of the fabric, not this point. So you got to make sure you have this, adjusted right. I'm a lefty, so this is convenient for me. Righties might have a harder time with this, but and a lot of times what I'll do is I'll now that I know that's where my line is, I'll just kind of take this bottom piece and get it out of the way so that I can, now I know which way my black leg's going, and now I can get it in there and slide it and lock it in, the corners matching, and then draw my line. Now if you don't have a black lock, you can do the same thing with any square ruler that has a diagonal line, and you just line up that diagonal line with the corner, just like that. The points are meeting, and then down here on this one it has another little square thingy that you can make sure that point down there, let's zoom in. Oh darn it, I have to move up. Okay, let's try that again. That's why the black locks are so easy. But you make sure that this point is on this corner and this point is on that corner, and the diagonal line is lined up with the edge of your strip here. So we'll go back to the black lock. So for me, for a lefty, my black lock symbol is on the right side when I do that. Sometimes I forget, I get all turned around. So I'm sliding it down, keeping it pushed, to the left. And I'm going to zoom back out again. And I'll draw my line. Now, this shouldn't be drawn with a friction pen. I'm just doing it so you could see the line, because we're stitching on this line. So this is going to stay, and friction pens come back when it gets real cold. So you really want to use chalk. I don't even use the blue wash away, because I'm going to iron this at some point, and I might set that blue ink in. I don't even use the purple Mark Be Gone. I have them all, but I don't use them. I'll use chalk. And what if this is really, really light fabric? I never use white fabric for a binding, so I'll be able to see my chalk. And the chalk line chalker I use is the Clover, this one. I got to get a new one, because this isn't actually yellow. I never use yellow. I emptied all the yellow out, I cleaned it out real good inside, and I put in white chalk. But, so that's what I would use, the one that has this. And they're such a pain, because, or at least this one is, because when you draw, this has to be facing, I have it so that, I face this mark here. I face that so that it's this and this are kind of like, I don't know what you call it, parallel. So this is facing up and this is facing up. That helps me know which way I have to draw. Because if I turn it and this is facing down, it doesn't, the wheel doesn't spin. I don't know if it's just that it's old or what, but I probably need a new one. So anyways, so there's the line. It's drawn. And so I'll bring this one back. And so you just match them up. They're right sides together. And this part is kind of the hardest part because you got to really get this outside corner here first. And I just kind of put my finger there to pivot. And then I line up this. And then that one usually at the top there kind of falls into place. But what I usually do is I spread my fingers and I'll take my skinny little pins and I'll just put one in like I went off. Let me do it again. So I'll pivot that there, and what you can do is before you even go, you could put a pin there and not put it in all the way to help you pivot. In other words, you can line up this corner. I can't see or anything. And you can just stick a pin like close to that corner like that. And then that's your pivot. And you can just kind of hold the pin and then pivot there and there. And then spread your fingers and then just put another one, you know, hold your fingers kind of stretching the fabric, not stretching it, but keeping it taut, and then just slide this one in, but don't come out yet. Just leave it in, just like you did this one. And then you can maybe come and put another pin like this. I put them parallel to the line, the pin, but enough distance away so my presser foot doesn't hit them. And then usually once this one is in, you can come and put this one, finish it. And then of course you can put more up here. So I'm really adjusting it now. I don't know, I might be too close there. And you can even put one at the bottom. Again, I'm probably too close. Okay. And so then when you stitch this, oh, I have to switch my foot, sorry. So I use my regular centering foot that comes with, this is a satin foot, but I don't know, I'm used to it for everything. But it has a little triangle. And whenever I do a seam like this, I always, you know, something that has to be pulled taut or folded or whatever, I always line up whatever line I drew on the fabric, I line it up with the left side of my triangle, not the center. And I'll show you what I mean because I'll zoom in. I have to start a little bit on the line if I want to make a back stitch here. And normally they say with this kind of stuff you don't have to make a back stitch. But I don't want to start at the end, at the very point, because I don't want this to get all bunched up either. So I'm going to start 1/4 of an inch in, and I'm going to do like, take 1 stitch forward, 2 stitches back, and then just stitch. I'm still going to line up the red line with the left side of the triangle, but I'm going to tuck this corner in just under the back, just under the foot, under this back part of the foot. So let me take this out. So I've got it kind of tucked in back there. Okay. And I'm on the left side of my triangle. It's lined up with the line. So I'm going to do needle down. and I'm going to actually go 2 stitches forward. So I'm going to hold my thread just because I'm used to it. And so I'll go 1, 2, and then I'm going to back up 2. 1, 2. I'm not going to go 3 because I might come off the fabric. So, and now I'll just keep going with this, watching that this line is on the left side of the triangle. That's the only thing I'm watching. And then when I come down here, I still want to make sure that I stitch off right at the point. And you may notice that my line is slightly left of the point. That was the other thing. You start getting used to it, like, okay, well, we're going to make the line just a hair to the left of the point when we do our pinning. So, let's see if I can do this. So normally I got my head down there and I'm, you know, because I'm old, you know, can't see. So, as I come down, I'm still to the left of the line, and I'm not going to go that extra stitch because it might take me to this edge and I might bunch up the edge because it looks like I have one more stitch and then I'll be on the edge, and that's when you get an ugly edge. So I'm going to stop here. I'm going to backspace 2, 1, 2, and then just stitch off the fabric. So my tie is like 1 stitch in, but at least it's a tie, you know, and I should be good, especially when most people don't even back stitch on here, but I think you should. So I'll cut that, and go ahead, and there's our perfect seam. And before you cut this triangle off, you know, you do have to check it, because who knows, you might have stitched this line from the inner. So you'll go and you'll open it up now. Let's zoom out. And you'll check it, and that looks good. It's got a slight pull. Remember, we took off 1/8 of an inch, so when we cut 2 3/8, just so that we have a slight pull. And don't stretch it too much when you're testing it, because then you end up stretching it again. So we'll just go ahead, and I'll do it from this side so you can still see my red line. And I'm just going to guesstimate 3/8, because like I said, I always go 3/8 when I cut these. It's probably not. Now it looks like I cut it shorter than that. Yeah, I did. Like I said, usually my head is down in there. And with this join, there's nothing to cut off the sides because you've matched it up. Like, there was no overlap when you matched it up. You really matched it up. So, my threads here are not cut. Need new snips. And so then this will be opened up. And a lot of people, they just finger press it here. But I'm so OCD, I finger press it, and then I also take it to the iron. So you still want to keep it so you don't have slack. I mean, so you have some slack so you don't stretch it. And of course my iron is turned off. But so you press it. I might have to cradle the camera. Let's see. And my iron is the Rowenta that spits, so I don't use water, and now I'm glad I don't anymore. I just use starch and spritz water when I need it. So I never worry about burning my fabric. And then when you pull it, it's perfect. Just by taking off that 1/8 of an inch, and then you can give it another press here. And this is where you really don't want to go back and forth with the iron. Just hold it down, and you should be good. Now, a lot of people, what they do is they clip it just to make sure. So I'll press it down, I'll clip it in the center. I have the red Wonder clips too at my other table. You may want to clip it, or if you have ripples, then you have to pin, and you have to put tons of pins to take up the ripple or the pleats or whatever that might form. But I don't have that problem, so I'm just going to put some clips just to make sure, especially a clip there. Now you can see that there looks slightly like I pushed the point up, but it should be fine. And then you'll switch to I will switch to my 1/4 inch foot. And then I won't start here, even when where the knot is. I'll start a 1/4 inch back. I'll do 1 stitch forward and 2 or 3 stitches back. But I'm going to dial down just to make sure I'm exactly on line with the previous stitches. And let me see if I zoom in, if it'll be too much. I think it should be good. So I'll go 1 stitch forward. Whoops, needle down. Well, I'll go 1 stitch forward. And then I'll go 2 back. Whoops. And then let me make sure that's good. And then I'll hold my fingers on here just to make sure there's not going to be any puckers, because this is cheaper fabric that I'm using. This is the Waverly fabric from Walmart, and I've noticed that even when you starch it, it gets wavy here, so I'm going to make sure I go like that if I have to, or keep my clips on, until I get right up to them. So I'll just use my fingers. See how it's already getting wavy? That's because of this oh, maybe that's why they call it Waverly. Now over here it's really Waverly. And this is, like I said, where you can use pins. I would use my real skinny pins, and I would pin this. If this Waverly is going to be Waverly, I pin it just to take up those waves that I'm going to encounter. Let me do that. I'm glad that's happening, because then I could show you. So I don't have to go all the way through. I'm just kind of going into the batting, but your needles can't stick out. That should be good for there. I don't have this problem with Moda fabric, so, but you may need to do this, and especially if you stitched it, or if you cut it too long, you would still have to do this. And sometimes you got to do it, you got to put them really close together, because the pins take up the ripple, the waves. Pull that one out of here. So I should be good now. And you can see I have to lift up there, because I saw that little part of the triangle or part of this V or whatever. And I'm stitching over these, but you're not supposed to. Mine are so thin that I have to admit sometimes I do, but I really should be taking them out. So let me be more responsible. So I should take that one out. Oops, I see I stitched over a pin. Okay, so here I'm going to make sure I come right in line. I'm going to over track and then go back 2 and then forward 2 or 3 or 4. Okay, and so there you go. And you know, there was my beginning there, right there. And there's my nice smooth join there. So then now we can go back to the regular video where I show where I press this ball. Okay. Now I go and I press this all the way around. Oh, that was that long piece. So that I can, you know, bring it to the front. So with it being so small, I'll just press on top of this one, and so that I can get to these. And then I go into the corners with the point. Get the sides good. And then when I turn it around, this will be flat. And I could do the same there. Boy, that's hot. Usually you go like that and push it, but can't really do that. Get into the corners. I don't know if I got that corner. Okay. And so then I make sure all my corners are pushed out. I hope I'm still in view. I kind of push them out with my thumb. My thumbnail. And then when you start folding it over, you want to start from the right and move left, because we're going to be stitching starting from here and going down. And we want to make sure when we get to our corners that they're correct or easy. You'll see what I mean. And we want to make sure that on these corners where this lip is on top, this piece is on top, well, that's the one that gets folded first, because you don't want to fold this side last, because then you'll have a lot of bulk right here. So you fold it in first, so then the bulkier piece now is this one on this side. And so that's another reason why you go from right to left when you're folding. So then, like I said, or I wrote in the video, because I forgot to say it, I do clip because that holds it, because especially since you're using, and I'm going to put them in upside down. Sometimes I like to do that because it flattens it. And actually, that's right, I started using, I completely forgot, I started using the silver hair clips instead, because I didn't like how these clips don't come all the way to the end. And so they almost accentuate this part of the binding that was pressed and then folded over, and then now it's not. This fold is incorrect. You know, a lot of people say they don't press their binding because of that. But so I found that when you put these on, you kind of flatten that, but it's like big deal, you know, you're only flattening it in one spot anyways. So I don't know how I feel about that. So anyways, we're going from right to left. I could put one here. Let me zoom out a little. I don't want to get too close to this corner because it has to be folded over. I'll just put them in upside down. And then when I get up here, I think my arm's going to be in the way. You know, you really give that a good finger press so that that's 45. And then you can use your tweezers or the purple thing or a stiletto. Where is my stiletto? I have fingernails, so you know, I don't really have to worry about anything. But if you didn't, I guess you could use, I don't know if this is in view. Move the iron. You know, you can make sure that it stays over using that. And then, you know, fold it. But then at that point, you're not even. But what I do is I clip it anyways, right next to it. And then I can take that area there, and when I get to it or now or whatever, I can either take a pin and just, I'm going to try to go around the camera. Let me zoom in on this. I can like take a pin and just stick it in there and pull that. But usually it's best to do it when you get to it, when you get to that point. Because if you pull it now, you might, I don't know, you might pull it too much. And then you put a pin there. Usually these short, strong pins. I was going in and still taking the pin and going in that fold. And then pressing down and then straight in at a 45. But not going all the way and just kind of leaving it there. And so then that's how I would do every corner. Then when I get to it, I could make it even better. So going to the from right to left again. So now I'm this way. This one doesn't even look good. I wonder if that's the corner I had a problem with. So I'm really kind of pulling on that. And I hope I'm not in the camera view. And then, like I said, you can use something like this that's nice and sharp and fold it over. And again, it's going to be incorrect, but I still would clip it. And then because if I move the angle of the camera, then I have to redo it. So I'm hoping you can see that. So I put it in the fold. I can't even see now what I'm doing. And I go down, and then I don't want to penetrate it on the back. If I feel the needle coming through the back, I pull it back a little. So I just want to get like down into the batting and then straight in. And then keep going this way. I guess I have to hug the camera. And this is where the seam is, the join. So I'm going to kind of pull it a little before it. Okay. So put a couple there so that you can get it to look nice and straight. Okay, now this is too much. I could tell I've got too much here. So I'm kind of pushing it up. I'm not making it as tight here. I'm just going to use my fingernail. And then you could see that's somewhat good. Go in the fold, go down and straight in. Okay. Like I said, I probably shouldn't have put that on there. Let's see how that looks. Not bad. Down and straight in. And there you go. And so now it's ready for the machine. And so I'll change to the zipper foot. Make sure it's in focus. I have to do it all the way off because the genomes don't have like, you know, an opening. So you have to take the screw all the way off of the genomes. And oops, zipper foot. So here's the zipper foot. And so when the zipper foot has an opening, so then I usually take the screw. It's not easy with long nails. But I have one finger down below. And so I get that in a little bit. And I have this screw so tight with, you know, I use needle nose pliers because I don't ever want that to move. And I changed it to a different screw. I have all these screws from wherever, Home Depot and who knows wherever else. And I tighten it with the screwdriver. because the original screw that comes with this is like bright green. It's plastic, and I've demolished it from the needle nose pliers. I mean, it's still good, but okay. So I'm going to do the blanket stitch on this other piece because the first time I shot the video, I didn't like the angle of the camera. So I changed my angle, I changed my tripod, and we're going to try it so that you're straight on so you could see the needle and everything, and you know, so you could basically see what I'm seeing. And then the thread is a little bit heavier than what I used to stitch the binding to the back, because I wanted this blanket stitch to just show. And so this top thread is Tex 30, and that's kind of like what long armors like to use. And this here is Tex 30 as well. It just shows up better. It's equivalent to like weight of 35, so it's just slightly heavier than 40 weight. And when I stitched to the back, I used a 50 weight thread, so it's thinner, so it wouldn't be bulky. And the 50 weight thread that I stitched when I stitched the binding to the back, that was So Fine by Superior. And, you know, it's a really strong thread, even though it's just a 50 weight. So that's what I used for the back, but for the front, you want the blanket stitch to kind of show decorative. It just, you know, and then you want it to match your front thread and so on. Now, as far as the color, it's so, you know, it's so hard to decide because normally you would think, well, you want the color of the thread if it's going to show. You know, we're going to do regular blanket stitch where it stitches along and then juts over to the left. So the swing over is to the left. You figure, well, you kind of want your thread to match the thread that's on top of your quilt. But then you think, well, wait a minute. Now, if it's going to swing over, maybe I want it to match the fabric. And honestly, it's such a personal decision. And sometimes your thread matches your fabric anyways. In this case, it kind of does. It blends in. But then what about the binding? It's going to stick out on the binding. Well, this blanket stitch looks good if it sticks out on the binding. You know, if there's a stark contrast to the binding. It's so decorative that it looks pretty. So it really is a choice. And sometimes everything matches, like say this here part that the binding is attached to is your border. A lot of times your border and your binding match because you want them to blend in. So honestly, it's just a choice. Now I kept this at, the color is flax, which this stitching is silver on here. But I didn't want to use silver because I want you to be able to see the thread, so I thought the flax would show up better. I probably could have gone a little bit darker even so you could see it. I don't have a lot of dark colors in the Superior. I think I have some black left, but I think you'll be able to see it because it's a double swing over. So at any rate, and then in the bobbin, I think you would want to match your thread because the bobbin line is going to be like a 1/4 inch away. It's not going to stitch on the binding. It's going to stitch on the back fabric. I think you'd want to match your thread. But in this case, I have the same color flax thread in the bobbin just so you could see it, you know, when we look at it. But so anyways, so that's what we're going to use with the thread. And then as far as where I'm going to start stitching, I don't want to stitch right at the corner because, you know, I want the the binding to be down, you know, flattened a little bit before I get to this corner. I want to have some base, some stability before I get to the corner. So I'm going to go like 2 inches from this inside corner. And hopefully by the time I get to the corner, then I'll be able to finagle my distance so that my swing over is like right, not in the corner, but kind of like 2.5 mils from the corner, my swing over. And I may have to manually backstitch, you know, to get it there. Because remember, I have 3 straight stitches and then swing. 3 straight, swing. And each of those are 2.5 mils. So 3 stitches times 2.5 mils is 7.5 mils. So I have a 7.5 mil gap between each swing over. So when I get down here, we'll see what happens. So we'll go ahead then, and I'll just figure, okay, that's about 2 inches. I could put a pin there if I want, you know, and that's about where I'm going to start. And then I'll just put this in there, move this one down, and then I'll pull the pin out. So, and you can see it's high there, but as soon as the needle goes down, this, you know, with the very first stitch, this is going to flatten. Now I'm still on just stitch number, my stitch number 1. That's the needles in the center. So, you know, if I dial down, I'm not anywhere near where I'm supposed to be. I'm supposed to be on the binding. So I have to go to my stitch, my blanket stitch, and the one I'm using is just a regular blanket stitch. And you could maybe see it up here. If I zoom in, it's mode 2 here, and it's stitch number 70. And you can see it just goes, well, you can't see that it's 3 stitches, but it is. It's 3 stitches, swing, 3 stitches, swing. And I have it saved in this machine. And in this machine, it's really insane the way you have to save things. But I'll pull it up. This button is how I pull up my memory slots of stitches that I've saved. But I have to be in mode 2, not mode 1. So I have to click mode, then I'm in mode 2. Then I can go through my memory slots. So that's memory slot 1. That's actually the reverse blanket stitch. It's actually stitch 70, but it's flipped. So in my mind, when I see it like this with the swings up, I say to myself, upright, meaning it's going to swing over to the right. But that's not the one I want, because I want it to stitch straight and swing over to the left. So that's not the memory slot that I want. So I keep hitting this to go to M2, slot 2. Everything is M on this machine. It's so confusing. So I hit it again, M2. No, that's it's what I have to put in as a serpentine. I have to use the zigzag because the regular serpentine on this machine is, something's wrong with that. I don't know it's horrible. So I don't want M2. M3, I can't remember what's in there. M4. M4 is the real heavy blanket stitch. like for applique. I don't want that one because I don't want it to be heavy. And then M5, that's the one we want. And that's, I've got it shown here. That's this one. That's what we're going to do today. And so you can kind of see the swing over. So it's 3 stitches and then it swings over. And then swings back. 1, 2, 3. Swing, swing. Okay, and this distance is 7.5 mils because each of these is 2.5 mils. The swing over is 3 mils. Okay, and so that's the setting we want. So we want to pull it out. So we hit TOM, and then you could see there's my swing over is 3 mils. That's my stitch width, and my stitch length is 2.5, like I said. What we're going to do is we're going to take our top thread and we're going to put it under the presser foot. So I can lift it up a little. And I do have a knee lift. I always forget to use it. So I want this to be kind of straight. I want this to be straight, and I could see that it's not going to be. So I'm actually going to take that out and make sure. That's usually what I do. When I take a clip out, I usually try to get everything to look smooth. Yeah, it looks like I kind of came over too far here. I should probably use tweezers for this. So I'm not blocking. And then when I do that, I notice I'm, to make this width here and here the same. Am I still even down there? Maybe not. So I guess that's why I like to finagle with it when I get to it. Okay, so I pushed it in a little. Oop. I guess that's okay. I don't really like that corner though. I'm so OCD. There's so many tools that you can use, honestly, to do this. And I mean, I can even use this to push it in. Get it all the way in the corner. I liked when I used the red one because it was really pointy. And you can really flatten that and get it down into the corner and then pull that over. And you can see that it's over too far. And that's what I was saying about, taking your pin and you can go under and pull it down and make it perfect. And I can leave it there just like that. That looks pretty good. I can pin it. I can just stick a pin right there. I don't even have to go under, and then clip it since I'm going to be coming up to it. There's so many ways you can do this, but I just want to get that flattened. And see, it looks like it's too wide again once I did that. That's going to bug me. Okay, I'm just going to leave it like that and use the pin instead of the clip. Sorry, I'm my own worst enemy sometimes. I'll just leave it like that until I get down there. So at any rate, I'm going to just dial down till it gets close to the fabric, and then I see everything looks good, and I'll do a needle down. Okay, and then this top thread is under the presser foot, so I didn't have to hold it or anything. I probably should have held the bobbin thread, but it's okay on this machine. This machine behaves really well. So it's going to do a locking stitch, and it's a real tiny locking stitch, and then it'll do its 3 stitches forward. So, okay, 1, 2, and I'm pumping 3, and now I believe it's going to take its 1 stitch forward. So that's 1, and you can go ahead and use, you know, your purple thing. I like the pointy side down. Okay, my dog chewed on that one time. Or you can use your tweezers. You probably don't want to use them that way. You know, you could use it like that. Don't get any closer than the presser foot, the end of the presser foot. But, you know, I guess you could use it like that. That would be fine at an angle. You know, I have this one I could use. It's probably easier for me to hold. People can use a stiletto. I do have a blunt stiletto, but it's, where is it? I can't even remember where I put it. Or you can use the flat side of your purple thing, or you can use your fingers but keep them far away. Like, I don't go any closer than what I am right now, and I just let the fabric slide through my fingers, and this finger is kind of holding it, you know, smooth, and this one's on top. But I know I'm doing a video, so I should do things more safety oriented, so I have to decide which one I want to use, because my right hand always hurts me. I have like neuropathy, so I'll just use this one like that. So that was stitch number 1, and now it's flattened. Oh, and I have my tension, my top tension set to 5. It's usually set on 4, so I just tighten it to 5. So here we go. 2, 3, and then swing. 1, 2, 3, swing. And I'm watching the edge of the foot here, that it's right on the edge of the fabric. That's where my eye is all the time. And when the foot gets close to this, I have to take this out, and you know, I use my nails because I have such long nails, and I just hold it like that. But I'll be more careful, and I'll use this instead when I get a little closer, when I take this out. Oh, forgot. Okay, so I'm close. So I'm going to take this out, and when I do take it out, I want to look at that corner. So I'll just like take my fingers and see if I like it, and yeah, I still like that corner. So I'll put this back. Okay, now this is going to bang into this clip. So move it over there. And I always forget about my pins. I leave them there when I'm filming because I'm, you know, thinking of so many things. So here we go. 1, 2, 3. Okay, now it's going to swing, and the foot is nicely over this binding. So you have to also watch, make sure it doesn't catch it, and you know, and you got to stop your machine and make sure that this is on top. But everything's good. Now it's going to swing and swing back. I got 3 stitches, right? I'm going to turn it this way because it's easier. I like it at an angle. That's really helpful. So let's just see. We'll go 1. Okay, so now I think when it takes its next stitch, I'm going to be in trouble. So what do I want to do? Because 2.5 mils from where it is now, it's going to end up like, I really need my stiletto. It's going to end up like right here. Well, that's kind of where I want it to be for the swing over, because I don't want the swing over right in the corner. So I can decide now, do I want to just manually do a needle up, needle down and let it take just a really tiny stitch? You know, sometimes I back stitch, but at this point, a back stitch is going to hurt me, because if I back stitch and go in, you know, to the same hole I came out of, then that's stitch number 2, and then stitch number 3 is going to end up right here again. I don't want that. I have to just go forward. So I'm going to go forward a tiny stitch, either now or after it goes, but I'd rather do it now because I have 2 more stitches before it swings over. So I'm going to do needle up, and I'm going to use my knee lift, to manually lift the fabric, and I'm going to pull the fabric towards me so that we're kind of going backwards a little, and then I'm going to take my hand wheel and dial down. Okay, so that was my tiny little stitch. I'm going to go with it, and I'm going to hit the needle down button. So that was 2, and then I'll do needle up, and then I'll take my hand wheel and see. Perfect. That's exactly where I want to be. So I'll hit my needle down button right here. I don't want to be in the way of the camera. Let's see if I can come over here. Okay. So needle down. Perfect. And now it'll swing over in exactly the right spot. So I took a really tiny, tiny stitch for stitch number 2 in order to land where I wanted to land. So needle up, swing, swing back. Now I'm probably going to have to take 2 stitches to get on this place. Maybe. Let's just see. I can pump my machine really easy to just get 1 stitch, but some people don't have that luxury. If you don't, then do needle up, needle down for your next stitch. I'll show you, I can just pump it, and it took 1 stitch. So see how that 1 stitch didn't even take me to where I need to be on this line. So I can pump it and do 1 more stitch. And that should have taken me right to where I want to be. So let me get all my junk out of the way. And now I can lift it with my presser foot, or with my presser foot lifter on the machine back here. It's in the back. Or I'm going to take this clip out, or I can use my knee lift. My knee lift doesn't lift real high, so I'm going to use the presser foot. And then I'll bring it around. And it looks like I'm a little close here, but I'm going to go with it, and I'm going to take this out. And so now I'm going to smooth this out here on top, on the side here, make sure everything looks good. Since I already went 2 stitches, you know, after my swing over, this next one will be my 3rd stitch. So I should be right on for my next swing over. So I'm going to try to wiggle my fabric to get a little over because I messed up. I mean, you know, I'm not exactly correct. So we'll go ahead, and now it's going to swing. and swing back. Perfect. So now I'm home free. Okay, so now I'm getting closer. I'm going to take this clip out, kind of look at things. I don't know how I feel about this corner. I feel like I want this part of it to come out more. That looks good. And see how I use my fingernail? Gosh, it's just so much easier for me. I'll quit complaining. And you can set your machine speed to be really slow. 2, 3, swing. Okay. Now, I'll just pump it to swing back. So I've got 3 more stitches. Okay, and I'm holding this down so the foot can get over this binding. Okay. It's actually in a good spot because if I let it go 1 forward, that's stitch number 1, I can back stitch manually and then let it take stitch number 2 and then swing. I'll be good. So I'm going to let it swing over back. Okay. And at this point, I'm going to manually go needle up. Okay, and I'm going to dial down. That's stitch number 1. This got pushed again. Oop, and now I moved it back. Okay, so that's, I kind of moved it too much, but I'll go needle down. That's stitch number 1. Okay. And then I'm going to manually go backwards into that same hole. And this will be stitch number 2. So I'm going to do needle up, use my knee lift, slide the fabric towards me. And I got to go even more, I think. Where was that stitch? Because, you know, as you dial down, the feed dogs bring it more forward, so you got to go back even farther. So I want to be in that same hole where the swing over was. Feels like I need to move it. I'm using my knee lift. Does that look like I'm in that hole? Okay, it looks like I'm in the hole. Let me see if I can zoom that in. It looks like I'm going to be going in the hole. No, I honestly, guys, can't see. No, I'm lifting my knee lift. Okay, now it kind of feels like it's going in that hole. And you can kind of see the swing overs right there. That's the hole I want to go in. That's stitch number 2. So I'll do needle down to get it all the way in. Now when it does stitch number 3, it's going to go right in that same hole. So it's like I'm doing a triple stitch, but I'm doing it manually. So I'm going to do needle up, and then I'm just going to dial down to make sure it goes in that same hole. Lift up using my presser foot because it kind of went too far. Nope. Lift up right there. So I'll do needle down. So that was stitch number 3. Up, swing, up, back. And now it's probably again going to need 2 stitches to get where I want it to be. I hope I didn't push this. So we'll go... Whoops, not the knee lift, Lisa. 1, 2. And then lift and turn. And again, I'm still a little close, but I'm going to go with it. So I'll take this out, smooth it out. And I used to glue my binding, but it's just too much work. And then you can't smooth things out and move them around either. So, you know, when you have glue, so you're kind of stuck with what you got. So let's see, that was 2 stitches, so it's going to go 1 stitch. I'm going to get caught on my tripod. I'm going to try to zhuzh it so it gets in line better. Okay, and so we'll go back to this. And now we're home free. So now I'm, again, just watching the edge of the foot. I can go a little bit more. But I said I wasn't going to use my finger. I'll keep it up here. Okay, I'll take this out. And I can kind of see, I'm getting to the, oh, let me go back out 1 to 1, sorry. I'm getting close to my join here, but this here, down here, it's pretty narrow right here. So I have to really zhuzh this and make everything look better. Especially when I get down here. So I'm taking clips out now and really trying to make this look better. Because that was actually my fault. Yeah, it looks real wide up here, and then here it gets narrow. I don't always have that problem. A lot of times it looks wider down here. So I'll just try and push this a little bit. And so I'm going to just span my fingers like that. Move everything out of the way. And I don't want to get too close, so I'm just going to go for it. So you see how I'm kind of letting it slide through my fingers now? And I never have any ripples or anything because this isn't smashed down. That's one good thing about it, about using the zipper foot. So I can kind of hold it there or there. That's fine. I could see it's not going to be like a smooth transition. And again, that's why a lot of people don't like to iron their binding. So I can push it with this finger like I normally do. Like I can leave my finger there for a minute. We'll see how good I do. And see, I usually do push my finger there. I usually go a lot faster too, but because when I'm using just my fingers, I'm really good at it, but I know that's not safe. I keep saying that. I'll go back to being safe now. I mean, I guess you can get one of those protective bars for your machine. See there, I'm getting close. So here I'm going to take this clip off. See how my corner looks. Not bad. I'll wait till I get closer. Sometimes I forget, though, that I'm zoomed in. Okay, so now I have to take this out, this pin out. I'll keep my finger here for a minute. That looks pretty good. So I'm just going to put this here. And push this down. Okay, so now when I swing back, now I've got 3 stitches and it's going to swing over. So I have a decision to make. So let's do the first stitch. Okay, so this is one where I'm probably, because I can't do a back stitch, so this is where I'm going to take one teeny tiny stitch manually. So make sure my corner still looks good. I can kind of lift up and look. And so I'll do needle up, and I'll use my knee lift, and I'll bring the fabric forward. Now I can see this swing over here. When that swing over is in the center of this hole, that means, you know, my needle will come down on it, maybe. But remember, if I bring it so that the swing over is right in the middle of this hole, this opening, then I might be better off, because I'm not done dialing forward. As I dial my hand wheel, see how the feed dogs bring it forward? That might just be my one stitch, although it looks like it's going in the same hole. So I'm going to use my knee lift, lift up, and go just a hair. That might be a different hole. I might be one thread away. So I'll do my needle down. So that was stitch number 2. And I'll do needle up, but I'll dial it with my hand wheel, and that's right where I want to be. So when I'm real close there, I'll do needle down. And now I'll swing over. I'm just using my needle up, needle down. Okay, and then now I'll go those 2 stitches forward. Make sure this is smooth. And so we'll go 1, 2. I kind of bunched my fabric. Okay, let's pivot. Yeah, I'm still close. So I'm not judging that right on my corners. So this will be 3. Okay. And you can see I'm real loosey-goosey in through here, but it's okay, because where it's a blanket stitch, and when we swing over, it'll pick up that slack. I can even lift and push it in, you know, and just kind of help it to put it there. So I've kind of distributed the looseness. So it's gonna swing over, and then it'll go 3. 1, pushing it, 2. See how I'm kind of pushing the fabric? 3, and now it'll swing over. And I should be good now. A lot of that looseness is gone. 1, 2, 3. 2, 3. Okay, we're going to take that out. That corner looks perfect, but I have to move this over. And see, when I move that over, then I have to kind of put my finger there, or else this is going to come up. So let's go for it. 1, 2, 3. Whoops. I counted that wrong. Now let's see where we end up with this. I haven't been this far away. 1, 2. Oh, this is going to be perfect. So I'm going to do a needle up, and I'm going to move it to where I think, and dial it down. Now I want to be on that. I want to be on that. I probably should have left it. It probably would have landed in exactly the right spot. That's good. And so I'll do a needle down. I lost track. 1. I'm not going to do a needle down, but I've got my needle in the fabric, so I've kind of got it there so that I can pivot and see where I'm at. See, I bend the needle if I do that. I'm bringing it back. I want to be really close to that fold. So I'm going to let it go down, and I know I'm not going to be in the right spot. So now it's going to swing. I'll dial it down. I'm going to lift my presser foot and bring it. Okay. Needle down. All right. Perfect. Needle down. I'm better when I'm not on film, honestly. This is real loosey-goosey. I just took the clip off. So I'm going to kind of distribute it with my fingers. And I'll just kind of do that. And we'll go for it. 1, 2, 3. Swing. Okay, so I'm using these fingers far away, and this one is a little closer, but I know I have the foot to stop me, you know, so I won't hurt my finger. So Okay. Okay, I'll do that again. So I'll keep this one on the side. I'm letting it kind of slide through my fingers. One, that was one. That looks a little wide and that looks narrow. That looks really wide right there. I won't push it, so I won't take this finger up here and push it any more than it already is because it's too wide. I'll push it down here. So I'm kind of letting it slide through my fingers. We're getting to the end. I'll leave that clip in. I think that was stitch number 2. Kind of pushing that a little bit. So I'm going to leave these threads long so I could see, you know, where my beginning is. Just, I don't know. I guess I'm just so used to doing that, you know, leaving these off at a 90-degree angle. But I could clearly see where my beginning is because I have a zipper foot on. So I could take that one out. So everything looks nice and tight here. So I'll just kind of go like that, and I'll have my finger here. Okay, so it looks like I might have 2 swing overs before I get there, but let's see. It starts with 3 stitches. It doesn't start with a swing over. Yeah, so there's no swing over there. So if I can get my swing over to be right about here, but I doubt it will. So, but that's okay. 1, oh, maybe it will. 2, yep. 3, and I could have made it, I could have done it manually with needle up, needle down, and I could have made that land right in the right spot. I screwed up for you guys. You know, because my last stitch, I could have had, on stitch number 2, I could have did needle up and then moved it so that it's right in that spot, because now it's just ever so slightly off. But I'm going to do a manual needle up for the swing, and I'm going to manually do needle up to swing back, and I'm going to dial it down, but I'm going to move the fabric over with the knee lift, and I'm pushing the fabric and then coming down. So now it looks like I'm in that spot. Okay, needle down. And so at this point, I can actually hit my back stitch button to do my tie, and I think I will, because I'm right there. Now, is it going to make an ugly tie on top of my original ties? Well, my original ties were kind of coming forward a little. So this tie is going to kind of go back a half stitch, then forward. I'm just going to go for it. So I'll hit the backspace button and then hit my foot pedal. 1, 2, 3. See how it did that? It went back and then came forward. So, and there you go. And so I'll leave these threads long, and then we'll go back to the original video where I bury these threads. But before we do that, let's just take a look at that. It's not bad. Like I said, I could have made that a little better. So where I really messed up was making this down here. I probably pushed it with my presser foot when I came down. I pushed this down because you can see it doesn't meet in the corner. This top one is up here, and then this is down here. So that started me out all messed up. And then I got wider here. But like I said, where I stitched this, it's all messed up. After I did the join and I stitched it, I didn't stitch it even. But yeah. So to be honest, I'm still not sure which one I like the best. I still like the one where I did the victory lap, but like I said, it's double work. This one, I think it looks so pretty and so complete. And I also like just the blanket stitch, the reversed blanket stitch, the flipped one. This is the flipped one with the victory lap. And I like this one also, you know, because I can get it to look pretty good. I still messed up at the bottom here. So the one that I showed today, I just, you know, I really wanted to like it, but for some reason I don't care for it. And it could be because, you know, the thread is a different color. I don't know. Because on this one, this is the same exact one. The thread matches the binding. And it kind of matches the top. And it just looks better than what the one I just did. But then I go back to these. And I might just go back to this flipped one with the victory lap if I feel like doing it. Because like I was saying with the victory lap, it's so nice because on the back, it just looks so complete. You know, you can see the blanket stitch and then the victory lap is right above it, and it almost just looks like a border around the back, like that was meant to be. But like I said, it's double work. So to be honest, I think it's between these three. This one was done with the bi-level foot. You'll see in my other video, I describe how I did each one of them. This one is the flipped blanket stitch. So you just flip it. The legs are going to the right. So that was the first memory slot in my machine. So if I get out of this, I just click this and then I go mode 1, mode 2, and then pull up. So it would be memory slot 1, up, right. When the legs are facing up, that means they swing to the right. So the word upright is my mnemonic device. So hit TOM. So that's the one that I really like. You know, is this one or this one with the victory lap. They're the same blanket stitch, but this one has the victory lap. So my stitch length is only 1.5. It's really tiny. So my swing overs are really close together. Now that's like less than 1/4 inch. So that would be 4.5 mils. So it's really tight where these swing overs are. And I think that just makes it look so pretty. It's so secure. And, you know, you've just got the one stitch on the back. So you'll see my other video, like I said, where I go into detail on all my settings for all of these. But I just wanted to show at least one of them. I do have a video on this other blanket stitch one, but I haven't edited it. It's so long, and I probably should edit it and put it in there. I might even have a video on this one. I can't remember. So anyways, guys, back to the video. And sorry for being so long, for taking so long. Okay, back to the video. So these are long, and these will knot and bury. And so you could say, well, okay, let's just bring them to the back and knot and bury. And you can do that. And the thing is, though, these are silver and these are gold. So I almost want to just knot and bury these right here and then knot and bury those. Sometimes I feel like that's what I want to do, and I don't usually do that, but you know what? I'm going to do it this time. So I'm going to put the presser foot down, and I'll get this in the camera view, and I'll try to zoom in. So I have the snag it needle here. Let me get all this stuff out of the way. Alright, so I'll just take these 2 threads, and now I'm a lefty, but I'm going to take my 2 fingers and I'm going to bring them around, and then take these these threads and put it through there and hold tight, grab the loop and pull that thread through. Okay. And then since these 2 are really close to each other, they're like almost in the same spot, I don't have to worry about where on here I go. I just need to be 1/4 inch away from where they came out of. But if they were like, say if one came out here and one came out over here, I would make my 1/4 inch away from the center line, the center point of where these 2 were. So I'd be like, if this were the center point, I'd go 1/4 inch away and stick the needle, pull the thread tight to tighten the loop. But they're both right here. So I'll just go like 1/4 inch away, stick the needle down, pull this tight up into the needle, take the needle out and pull, and then there's a knot right there. And then you don't want to ever go in the same hole that it came out of. You want to go in underneath a thread. So I'm going to go underneath this stitch right here with my needle, and I can't really see, so I hope I'm under it. and then through the middle of the batting and out the binding. Make sure I'm not there. Okay. Then snag it. Okay. And if you can't get any slack, just push it in and then you get slack. Pull that up to get slack. Push that. And this is so tight that I'm going to have to get my needle nose to pull it out. Because I know I'm not going to get that out. Just make sure you're not pulling towards yourself or your machine. Okay, there, we got it out. And a lot of times I like to snap that knot in while it's doubled up. Because there it goes, I heard it. It just seems stronger, and now you can just pull the rest of it out. Okay. Yeah, that's in there. That is never coming out. And then when you cut it, you pull on it, but then you just take your shears and the thread just goes into the fulcrum there, but you don't close your blade. You just pull the thread into it, and then the threads will go back in. Okay, so that knot, let's see if I can get it in the view, is under, okay, there's the leg, it's under this stitch right here. And I can move that stitch back. So that's where it is. So then we'll do the same thing on the back. So I'll take my 2 fingers, wrap it around, go like that, squeeze it, get my loop, get my needle. I'll just go a 1/4 inch away, pull it down. Now put it in, I've got another, oh, I didn't make that right. You can see I didn't. One of the threads is kind of loopy. Let me see. Oh well, it'll still snap in. The knot's pretty far away. So I'm just going to go in like, since these are already really thick here, I'm going to go underneath. Well, no, I better just go in line with what's going on. I'm not going to go in here because then it would look too dense in here. I'm going to go under this thread. So I hope I'm under the thread. I really can't see what I'm doing. I'm not sure if I made it in it or am I over it. I think I'm under it. And again, that's pretty tight in through there. Check you didn't come through to the front. Push this back a little. Snap it in. Push it, get some slack. And again, don't pull this towards yourself or the machine. Pull that out and then snap it in. I heard it go in. Pull that out. Pull this up. Push it down and then just bring the thread into it. And that. Okay, this this area here, it's right in the very next thread, under that thread right there. So it's right there under that thread. So that is never coming out. So let's take a look at this and see if we like it. Let's go 1 to 1. I can't get it to focus. Okay, there. So, and that's with, you know, the thread not matching the binding, but it is matching the thread on here. Now it looks the rose color that it's supposed to be. So here's in the corners where I kind of, you know, did some back stitching and there. So I don't know how I feel about this one. You can see there. And then with the corners, I did them just, you know, manually. I can show you how I did those. I would take the same color thread as the binding and make sure it's the so fine, so you don't want to use the Omni. And I think I have so, well, you know what, I don't think I have so fine in that color. I've been meaning to get it. I guess I'll use the Omni. So I usually cut like about 16 inches. I know you can't really see. I'm measuring it on my table here. And I use a really thin needle. And I do the knot, you know, the way that you make sure your ends are even. And you take the needle facing right, and then your threads, the end of your threads, you put them so that they are at the end of the needle. Then you pinch them, and then you go around 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. I think I went 5. And then I'm pinching as I pull the needle through. Yeah, that's a big knot. I hope I can get it to snap. And you want that knot, that's too big. Well, we'll see if I can get it to snap through. So you take it, you try to weave it in here, okay? And I just weaved it in underneath this stitch. But then you have to bring your needle around and get it right there, like it's like a 1/4 inch away. It's right there. You could see it just came out a 1/4 inch away from the corner. And I might be able to get even a little closer, but I don't know. That's good. And I have to snap that knot all the way down to here. So there's the knot. I snapped it in there. I'm pretty sure it's right. I'm pretty sure it's here. And then you just do a, the ladder stitch. So you travel up in the fold here, and a lot of people just do a whip stitch, but I like to travel. And so it's just like 1/8 of an inch, and I'm not really on the fold, I'm up too high, I think. So you kind of want to get in the fold, you kind of have to pinch here 1/4 inch away and then push, and then your fold is flatter and you can get down lower. I can't see if I'm in the right spot. And then you want to come up, 1/8 of an inch, well that's less than 1/8. And then hold it there and pull that way. Don't pull this way. Pull in the way the line is going. And so now I'm in the fold and I go right next to the fold into this bottom piece. And then I come up 1/8 of an inch away. And you could go right into the fold if you're good enough, but I'm not. And then I have to try and flatten it again, and I can't see what I'm doing. I think I'm in the fold. And then 1/8 of an inch away. Okay. And then, now at this point, you can come straight down and go to, not straight down, but you'd have to go down and into the batting and get to the back to do this fold, but I never do it. So from here, we're still on the fold. I'll go into this bottom piece, and over into here. Because remember, I'm using this gray thread, and I have to decide, okay, now I'm going to be coming up here. Do I want to bury on this side? I'm actually not ready to bury. I'm going to make a double stitch. But do I want to make a double stitch on this side? Because this thread is a different color. Or do I want to bring it around to the back and make a double stitch, here where I have gray thread already? Every quilt is different. I think what I'm going to do is go to the back because of the color of the thread. So then that just means that maybe I should come down from this point, okay, and see where it takes me here. Okay, it takes me there. I'd like to be right here on this path. So I'm going to take it and slant it and see if I can get it over there. I'm pulling it out and slanting it there. I'm kind of on the point. And I'm still okay. So as I pull it down, so now I'm there, but this thread doesn't really match. Well, this is the Omni. Well, okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a double stitch. So I'm going to come in here, I'm going to just stay on this fabric, and I'm going to make a real tiny stitch. So just like as if you were on the machine. That's not very tiny. And then I'm going to do it one more time. I'm going to try to stay just on this fabric. Well, I just made a knot. Dummy. I messed up. So you can't see what I'm doing. Yeah, I made a knot of some sort. Okay. So that's like a double stitch over itself. And then from there is when I make that knot, the loop. So the knot and berry, my fingers twist it, bring this forward, take the loop, bring all of this through with the needle and everything. We don't need the snag it now because we have this, but I totally screwed it up. Okay. And we take our needle now, it's all attached, but take this loop, just kind of drag it down. Okay. And make it, a 1/4 inch away. Pull it down. Don't take the needle out until you know you have all the threads, 'cause I see I have them. I have to separate them and pull them because I see a loop around the needle. I really screwed up. Let me just push that needle all the way in so I have both hands. Okay, so boy, this thread is like knotting. Okay, I think it's in. So I'll pull that out. There's my knot. Again, it's more than 1/4 inch. And I'm going to come down. I'm going to just go under like this thread here and through the batting that way. I'm going to go turn my needle, and I don't want to come through the corner. There, I'll come through the side. So I went in this stitching, and then that came out easy, and then I will snap it in. So there's that. Okay, pull it and just pull the thread into there. And that's how you do the corners. And so then you would do that to every corner. And I just like doing the corners like that. I just think they look better. And I snapped it in. Everything is hidden. And it looks pretty good. Like there's where I doubled up that thread. And there's your corner. I'm not crazy about this new camera. I keep saying that. So, I know this was long, as usual. I always make them so long. But there's a lot to talk about, So, do I like this better than any of my other methods? No, I don't. I still like the Victory Lap. I think it's just so beautiful. Just with it coming farther away like that. I just like it. I don't know. And, is it because this thread matches the binding? Maybe. Maybe. It's very pretty. This one, the thread kind of matches the binding. So this is the one I just did, you know, up there in the gray. So, yeah, I'm just not sure. Or do I like it just with the blanket stitch? It's very simple. You can barely see it. It makes a real pretty mark there on the binding. Looks very antique-ish. And it is pretty secure because I have, you know, the tension up to 5. Or do I like this way, the way that most people do it? You know, and then you run the risk of it. Oh wait, this is the one, this is different. This isn't the stitch in the ditch one. This is just doing that. And then it shows on the back, you know, but you just have one line showing on the back. And it does look nice because, is this the one that I used the bi-level foot? Yeah, the left bi-level foot with this one. And clips, because you have to use clips if, you know, first, and then you remove the clips as you go. Or there's this is the one that, and it's hard to see this one. It's the stitch in the ditch one. So you would match the top thread with the fabric so that it doesn't show, which I didn't. Or did I? Oh yeah, I did. I used black. But I have black here, but not black here, and it's showing. And then, you know, this is where a lot of times on the back, you don't know what's going to happen in the corners. And people are like, oh, well, you do the corners first. Well, it never looks good when you do the corners first. Because by the time you do your stitching, things get moved and shifted, and then your corners are warpy looking. But you can see, you know, here a lot is sticking out. Here I barely made it. That's why I stopped doing this, because it's uneven all over. It's not consistent, and it's a little scary. So I think I like one of these methods. So but which one, I'm not sure. So this one is, so the gray one that I just did is the same as the orange. So let me readjust these. So the gray and the orange are the same, but the orange one, this stitching really matches the binding. This one really doesn't, but turn this around so we don't see the seam. So these two are the same. And these two are almost the same, except this one has a victory lap. So this is a 2-step. So these two are a flipped blanket stitch. These two are a regular blanket stitch. If I put it this way, you'll be able to see what I mean. So these two are traditional applique, where the leg shoots to the left. These two are a flipped applique blanket stitch, where the leg shoots to the right. I really like these two. And this one's okay, you know. I'm using that left bi-level foot. I mean, it really doesn't look bad, because I'm really getting it, you know, the clips and the foot and everything. It doesn't warp it, but it's still a little risky. And you have this lip, you know, whereas the blanket stitch, you hold the lip down. The blanket stitch with the victory lap, you hold it down and you have that victory lap. That's really strong, which is what these two are, but I just don't feel like they're as pretty as these two. And then I thought, well, maybe I shouldn't go that close to the edge, but I think that's what makes it so secure, you know, is coming close to the edge and having this leg just be really small. It's still only 3 millimeters. You know, on all of these, the leg is 3 millimeters, so there you go, guys. And then there's your line on the back. There's your blanket stitch on the back. And there's your blanket stitch and your victory lap on the back. And then there's your blanket stitch going the other way on the back on both of these. All right. Again, let me know which one you like. Now, I'm probably, I don't know what I numbered these. I think I numbered them 1, 2, 3. These would be 4, and the black one was 5. So, yeah. So the gray and the orange are 4, because they're the same. I guess I should show the corners too. There, now it's in focus. I don't remember if my other camera, if I had to focus it so often. I honestly don't remember. All right. Well, let me know your thoughts. I really want to get people's opinions. All right, guys. Till next time. Try to make it a shorter video next time. All right then. Bye.